Welcome to this explainer on data privacy. You know, every single time you check out at a store or download a shiny new app, your personal data basically becomes the invisible currency of that transaction. It's wild, right? Today, we're completely cutting through all that dense legal jargon for a focused tutorial on exactly how your data is handled, and, more importantly, the strict rules companies are supposed to be following behind the scenes. Think of this as your syllabus for today. We're covering four main areas: the privacy problem, consent and profiling, transparency in action, and finally, managing third-party risks. Let's dive right in. So let's start with a really simple but absolutely crucial question. Where does your data actually go? I mean, we hand out our emails and phone numbers constantly these days, but as our digital footprints get bigger and bigger, that split second of hesitation you feel right before clicking submit is becoming a completely universal consumer reflex. And hey, that hesitation, it's totally justified. When you share your information, you are literally handing over a piece of your digital identity. The big overarching fear here isn't just getting flooded with spam emails. It's the fundamental security of knowing whether your personal data is an asset or just a lingering liability waiting to be leaked. Module 1, the privacy problem. Those consumer anxieties we just talked about typically break down into four major concerns. Number 1, data leaks and unauthorized sharing with third parties. 2, the very direct, scary threat of financial fraud. 3, the universal, everyday annoyance of relentless spam. And 4, the fear of incomplete deletion. You know that feeling? Knowing that even after you explicitly ask a company to wipe your data, some hidden copy might still be lingering on a random backup server somewhere. Moving right along to Section 2, consent and profiling. To combat all those fears, control absolutely has to be put back in your hands. Consent is fundamentally about choice, right? It's about replacing confusing, page-long legal jargon with simple, informed decisions. No more of those sneaky, pre-checked boxes buried deep in the fine print. You want and deserve the power to actively opt in or just as easily opt out, knowing exactly what you're signing up for. Now, a real game changer here is this concept called granular consent. Basically, it ensures your data is restricted strictly to the specific purpose you agreed to. So if you give a retailer your address just to ship you a pair of shoes, granular consent means they can only use it for shipping. That's it. They can't legally turn around and add you to a monthly catalog mailing list unless you check a separate box for that. Plus, and this is huge, you always have the right to withdraw that consent at any time, completely penalty-free. Then there's profiling. This is kind of that double-edged sword where retailers use details like your age, your income, and your buying habits to predict your behavior. This practice demands total transparency. If a retailer is building a digital persona of you to serve up hyper-specific ads, you need to be explicitly informed about it. And if you find it a little creepy, well, they have to provide a simple, easily accessible tool for you to just turn it off. All right, let's jump to Section 3, transparency in action. Flipping the script to the corporate side for a second, what does trustworthy data management actually look like when companies do it right? Well, it really comes down to a 4-point checklist. First, clear communication, openly explaining what they collect and how it's secured. Second, proactively addressing your security worries using plain, everyday language. Third, relying entirely on super simple consent processes. And finally, offering open, total data control, literally allowing you to update, move, or completely wipe your data from their servers the moment you ask. And that brings us to our final module, Section 4, managing third-party risks. Here's the tricky bridge we need to cross. You might happily hit that opt-in button, but what happens when a retailer turns around and hands your data to an outside marketing agency? To manage those hidden vendor risks, retailers have to follow strict operational protocols. We're talking about 6 key steps. They must only partner with trusted companies, enforce heavy penalties if data is mishandled, and ensure their partners have highly skilled technical teams. Internally, retailers have to assess their vendors' privacy training and actively educate them to meet strict internal standards. But the most important step for you, they absolutely must get your explicit permission before any of that third-party sharing even happens. So now that you know the rules of the game, granular consent, transparency checklists, and these strict third-party protocols companies are required to follow, take a second to really rethink your own digital footprint. Think about the brands you interact with every single day. Who holds your data right now? And are they truly following the rules? Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep asking those questions and always, always read the fine print.